Well, you can't beat around the bush with this. You just have to say it. Because it is what it is. And I know a lot of people are going to have... It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, but it's...
Right.
There's this all-inclusive Jesus that's being preached. And it's not... You're seeing... Okay, so... This is what I'm seeing in order, okay? At the beginning of last week, we had the Grammys and that whole thing. We're not even going to look at that, but we all know what happened. It was a big ritual. And then shortly after that, we see the earthquake in Turkey, where the 7 churches of Revelation are at. And then we see the train explosion in East Palestine, Ohio. Palestine is the name for the Holy Land right now. So there's that connection, and not just that, it's right there on that river that is polluting the Bible Belt, like you said. With the earthquake and that's like a warning to the churches, I believe, from God. And then right after that, we see the Christ the Redeemer statue getting struck by lightning. I think that is another big warning. And then we see these UFOs coming, and they were over the US, a bunch of them, and now China, and we see different reports. We're saying that some are known to be from other countries, China mainly. Others are being said to be like aliens. We know that that's not what they are, though. So there's like conflicting stories and different stories for each one. We know that there could be a couple different ways that could play out. And then we just see this theme of unity going into the Super Bowl. They really toned down the Super Bowl because I had expected a little bit more of like a show, but I think they toned it down purposely to try to promote this false Jesus. And then we see this that football player with the, I don't think we have any pictures of it, but he had that like satanic looking Jesus. It looked like a zombie or something. It's like a mockery. And Travis Scott had on a necklace before, and it's just all these performers have all this, it's like a gross representation of our Messiah, and that's what they're pushing. The commercials, as much as they sounded really good, each one of them was pushing this false unity that's coming, and it might be under the guise of Jesus, but the false Jesus. And I'm not saying that that's going to be like the Antichrist or whatever, but there are many, so we have to keep that in mind.
I think we also should keep in mind that it's a little bit odd when the UN is openly prepping for the second coming of Christ, and then the Jews are suddenly starting to be more willing to accept this character, and it's going to look like unity.
Yeah, and they did that thing when they did the thing with the 10 Commandments. Didn't they do something with Christmas too around that time? I know it was in one of the other videos we talked about it, but it's really seeming like it's all starting to come together.
Or Sanhedrin and final warning to Iran: choose path of King Cyrus or die like Haman.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And then we have this the stuff with this BRICS thing. When we were looking, it's the financial.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's coming, and it seems like it's a backwards from what we were looking for with the Nasara stuff. We had expected it to start in the United States and then go everywhere else. It seems like there's another system backed by gold coming out that is like the opposite of that. It's being started in other countries, and I think that the United States is going to be one of the last to follow through with it. I don't know. It could happen in multiple different ways. So, but
Yeah, I want to see if I can find the videos that you had on TikTok. All right, so this one. This is just like the biggest update on what's going on with the train, so I think we'll definitely watch this one.
Today we had another train derail in Texas, and if you guessed that it was also carrying hazardous chemicals that will probably affect the surrounding locals and damage the environment for years to come, you would be correct. Also, Louisiana had one in January that no one talked about, that spilled thousands of gallons of acid, causing evacuation and again damaging the environment. This continues to happen over and over again, and we just got info that the East Palestine chemicals were even worse than originally reported.
We now know 3 more chemicals that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago, and we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open. Hazardous material specialist just said on the news, railroad company Norfolk Southern is paying just $25K to the town.
All right, so then it gets into a little bit of politics and stuff, which I'm not too concerned about. So that, and then I just want to go over this real quick. I'm gonna move my microphone. There we go. We had the train derailed in East Palestine, which has a little river that runs down here, ends up in this river, of which goes down here, kind of skips up a little bit of Kentucky, comes through Cincinnati and Louisville, and then when it gets in Louisville, it comes down in some of these areas. You got eastern Kentucky, Owensboro, and some other spots, which are pretty much all hardcore, very spiritual Bible towns. So depending on how this flows, you can come over here, you can come down here, but it's basically going to be flowing to the Mississippi River and then coming out the bottom down here.
I have
Louisiana.
a picture that shows all of the links. I can send it to like the email or something if that's
Okay.
easier way to get it for you.
Yeah, I don't want to have to spend the time to like literally climb the rivers in there, but yeah, the biggest point is look what's going to get hit. And we have scriptures that we're going to go over that kind of give some warnings and stuff, but it's a very interesting place.
Yeah.
And of course, there's tons and tons of smaller rivers. So this is and it was, what was it, like a range of like 10 miles where all the chickens ended up just like shortly after they were able to, like the humans were able to smell that stuff in the air, their chickens died or something. I think it wasn't very far, but they just breathing that stuff in, the animals died.
The fish dying in the rivers.
Yep.
If you just look up like Palestine, Ohio on TikTok, you'll see all kinds of videos of like what happened.
Right.
People posting it, like first-hand videos of people posting stuff.
Plenty.
Yeah.
The dead fish under the bridge. The cloud was what was like, wow. They blew that up. They bombed it.
They knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing. They poisoned that intentionally, so. But then yeah, of course, the UFO stuff, the Super Bowl, the issue I had here, I don't want to play a whole lot of it, but it brings up these commercials that they're going to play.
Will air during the big game. Watch.
I'll prepare a feast and bring them together, he thought. But some refused to join him. He was heartbroken because he wanted everyone to be filled, not with food and wine, but with compassion.
Now, I hope that I can skip, and I should have wrote the times. But let's see if I can find something.
It meaning this whole campaign. It means a lot more people will probably be sending out
further bipartisan. They're obviously a liberal outlet, but no, this country actually does need to find Jesus. The hate in this country is just so awful. I mean, it's really honestly a most all-time high, the extreme left and the extreme right, and I'm not talking about one side or the other, because anytime that I meet someone who's politically extreme or an extremist, that does derive from a place of hate. Jesus teaches us to love thy neighbor, to love one another. And so I do believe that this country needs to find Jesus, and I think we also pledge allegiance to our God. And I don't care if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, it doesn't matter. People do need God in their life. Hopefully that will derive, and maybe perhaps lead our country.
So first little tiny piece in there, yes. Doesn't matter your religion as long as you have God, right?
In a more peaceful place, because look at where we are now. It's not good.
Amy, also part of the campaign articulated it's supposed to, or it's attempting to appeal to groups that may have felt excluded or repelled by the church in recent years, like members of the LGBTQ community, different races and ethnicities, those who lean more liberal politically, and yet people are decrying this as Christo-fascist. What is wrong with appealing to everyone? What is wrong with spreading messages of love, which is what Jesus Christ stood and died for?
Look at the mote in your own eye before you look at the one in mine.
What's the matter, buddy?
Like that with the Bible, right?
So I just thought that, pause on that. Pretty sure, like Elena and I were saying earlier, these are not the people to be taking biblical advice from, but let's continue.
Yes. Maybe the reverse, but the point is that people are so worried about what everyone else is doing that we're taking away everyone's voice. I love Jesus. I love football. I love the Super Bowl. Most of all, I love capitalism. But it's very sad that the conversation has come down to criticizing other people's beliefs instead of allowing us to have an open voice. And again, sadly, that comes right back to the Bible and to Jesus and not being able to follow some of those basic moral concepts and principles that America was founded on.
I love Jesus most of all. Football is second to that.
Exactly.
And Kennedy, part of, to Amy's point.
Capitalism's pretty great.
It's in the top 10. But why is it when we watched one of the commercials that were part of that campaign, it speaks fundamental and beautiful concepts again? Why is that vitriol? Where does it come from?
That shows you that it's a real threat. Like it's much better to have people hateful and divided. And it's much easier in terms of religious faith, particularly Christianity, to paint people as simpletons who, just worship an old guy in the clouds, and develop this straw man. But, if you're encouraging people to think about things like unconditional love and compassion and to search inward, that's actually very powerful. And it's
So I think with that one, the biggest thing I took from that is how she said it's easy to paint Christians as people who just worship the old guy in the clouds, it's straw man and
The simpleton.
the simpletons. And I'm like, so we're kind of like just slightly erasing the old man in the clouds, who we just called an old man in the clouds, and just moving towards this whole inclusive love, unconditional love. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do or what you believe or what religion you are, so long as you have some sort of God or something, whatever, we can all just be loving and accept each other. And the only issue I see with that is, what does it say about love in 1 Corinthians 13? It does not rejoice in iniquity. It rejoices in the truth. So, yeah, technically there's love, but we got to be careful about accepting homosexuality in our church. Like, that's what the Pope was preaching. It's like, yeah, let's just allow all these people in here. It's like the unity churches. For the sake of being able to preach, like, to them, you're just going to be like, oh, okay, come in here. We love you. We accept you. Are you going to tell them that what they're doing is wrong? Or, like, these people are saying on Fox, everybody has their own voice. Stop criticizing what other people believe and just accept it. And I'm like, no, like, yes, we can be loving towards them, but we're not supposed to sit here and pretend that what they're doing is okay. Like, that's not love. Love does not sit here and ignore iniquity like that. Because that iniquity is exactly what's going to kill your brother that you're trying to save in the first place. Like, that doesn't really do them any good. So let me see. It's just the psychology brain in me recognizes the little bit of, let's make this mostly wrapped up in truth right? So that those little lies that we want to push don't get caught. That is Satan's number one trick, right? A couple little lies wrapped in a whole bunch of truth to make it seem right so that you fall for it.
Yep.
All right, but so of course all the quote-unquote UFOs and then the Superbowl. So yeah, this one, that one getting hit. So yeah, the religious portion of the US is gonna get basically poison water. You've got Christ or God putting lightning on this idol, which is another thing that we're gonna have to like really talk about, is idolatry. Like it was made pretty clear that we were not to make graven images to worship. And a good portion of the world, so a lot of people, I don't put up the tree to worship the tree. I don't do these things to worship these objects. I don't go up to this cross up here and bow down to this cross to worship the cross. And I'm like, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, and like if you look at like the advertisement for the Super Bowl, Rihanna on there, I believe on her necklace she has some crosses on there.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have it on here, but then you see this guy right here. This video, if we watch it, you'll see the stuff that this is a good breakdown, 7 minutes of the symbolism. I don't know if you want to just sit through it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we can. All right. So this video, yeah, I've got it on the screen here. So yeah, you won't believe me. Dark symbolism. There's your title. You could look at that to watch the whole thing. We're just gonna look at a couple spots. There's some stuff you should probably watch here and then maybe over here that we're not gonna cover, but here's a couple things.
On her and the platform raises to the top of the stadium. Well, check this out. Rihanna in the all-red dress at the top of the stadium, lit up with all the attention on her, no one else, raises up the Illuminati sign right above her head. I'm sorry, that's the devil sitting right in front of you. Now, let's go back to the red dress. I mean, wake up, guys. Are you finally starting to get it? They're not just wearing red because it's cute and stylish. I mean, look, they're all the same. Lizzo literally has a 6 on her head. The Weeknd, literally the most satanic halftime show of them all. I mean, Sam Smith and the other person he was with, literally they look the same as Rihanna did, performed the most satanic performance to date. And obviously Rihanna's not gonna go out there and perform some satanic, disgusting performance because, I mean, look at her name. The bigger the name, the more low-key they are about it because...
All right. So it's very subtle, but there obviously are little details that make it very clear what she's doing. But she's just a lot more subtle than the rest. So yeah, and her nail polish is devil red.
Devil's red.
Or devil's red, yeah. 343. All right. Did you want to cover the radio conversation she had?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Maybe. After my thing's done freezing, you know. That's random.
Show.
There we go.
Rihanna is in the building.
Hey, Angie.
I cannot believe it's been so long that we have done this.
You know, I am misunderstood a lot at times. My music, my image, people have their whole thing about me, whether it be me being a devil worshiper or whatever. Besides them reading into my hand over my eye on my album cover.
Why is your hand over your eye on your album?
Because I'm a devil worshiper. What are you talking about?
And this is exactly what I meant when I said that the dancing is just not art. When you research the person and what they're into and what they say and what they do, there's a message that they're trying to send on these big platforms. Now I'm going to talk about Damar Hamlin. I'm not going to go deep into this because I know it's a sensitive subject and I don't think anyone should have went through what this man went through. Just a small thing here, his hand symbolism with LeBron James. I know he's number 3, right? But this is also the 666 symbol. And if you ever seen my LeBron James videos, this is starting to get a little weird. I didn't really care about that until I saw his jacket. Now his jacket really made me upset. I mean, how disrespectful is this? The whole world praying for this man, and for him to come out with a jacket of Jesus Christ on a cross looking like a zombie or a clown? Come on, man. And I don't want to hear comments saying that this is just a piece of art and it looks cool, because this is not cool. This is just not cool at all. And the front of the jacket says, without end or beginning, there is no day and there is no night. I mean, even football legend Adrian Peterson said that this is blasphemy. Even Travis Scott has been seen wearing this as a necklace, and don't get me started with Travis Scott. That doesn't make things any better. Look what Lil Uzi Vert pulled up in. I mean, they're literally all just mocking Jesus. And Riri is no better, pulling up to the Super Bowl in an upside down cross saying control minds. The Super Bowl commercials are a whole nother story. I'm sure you all saw the Doritos Triangle Jack Harlow commercial. I have a whole video already made for that on my YouTube.
Alright, so that's all we're gonna cover in that video, but I think it should be pretty obvious that there's a message being sent here.
Yeah, and they're mocking.
Yeah. It went from, yes, they were Satan worshippers, but like quiet about it, to nowadays, this is just what we are. And then just a couple pictures just to kind of show the trend that's going on. It's Hollywood celebrities. You see them, this one obviously is right side up crosses, but covering the crosses, and then you kind of see. This just makes me think of the women that were like haughty and like dressed themselves up in silver and gold and like braided their hair and all those things that the verses talk about.
I get Medusa vibes.
I know, this definitely looks like a snake, first of all. Medusa, like serpents coming out of the hair, but I mean, just this is what we're showing, and we're attaching these symbols to it, and then you see them upside down as well. And then, yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of the Chinese spy stuff because I figure most people already knew a lot, but I did do on my Rutus, I did a video a little bit of, I haven't done a huge update on it, but all of them are pretty much the same, but I feel like they're just kind of creating something out of nothing to cover up what's actually happening, so you can figure out what's happening here. And there's a few other people that have pointed out what it is, but other than that, I think that's it for this video, this like current events portion video, part 1, whatever. Right?
Yeah, and then let's just go ahead and do the scripture.
Alright.
Turkey is the real problem here. And I would be having a real lockdown conversation with Erdogan and letting him know that he's going to pay a heavy price for what he has done. Now, pay that price.
Week before Turkey-Syria disaster.
So Serge Manis said that step 1 of Project Bluebeam was going to involve the manufacturing of artificially created earthquakes in strategic locations around the world. Again, to make it clear, he is stating in 1994 that the governments were in possession of technology that was going to be able to make this happen. Can the government cause earthquakes? I don't really know about that. Again, I'm just telling you what he said. The second step, he says, was going to involve a giant show from space. Essentially, they were going to use 3-dimensional optical holograms that were going to project holographic images to beam across the sky, and that these images were going to include projections of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, and it was all going to merge into one. Do they have the technology to do that at NASA? I don't know. NASA really is just sort of a black budget, in my opinion. I have no idea what NASA does. I don't know why they're getting trillions and trillions of taxpayer dollars. I don't know what NASA does. Call me an idiot, but they have an incredible budget for seemingly nothing, in my opinion. And finally, the fourth step of Project Bluebeam was going to use various technologies in order to convince people that alien invasions were taking place, alien invasions, and even the rapture itself, thus making it easier for governments and the powers that be to take control of a fear-addled population. The NASA Bluebeam project is the prime directive for the New World Order's absolute control over the populations of the entire Earth. That's a direct quote from him, that the NASA Bluebeam project is the prime directive.
For a rollover semi, chemicals spilling out the back, to be eastbound 4 exit 273. A Rincon Valley unit going through the intersection states that there is a funny orange smoke coming from the back of the trailer. Winds are southwest, 20 miles per hour, gusting up to 30.
2031 is going to be the placard number. Go ahead. Copy 2031 was the placard number. Nitric acid is what's being told to me is 2031.
Okay, we've seen that object around a minute ago. The captain, myself, I saw it dive like 20,000 feet in seconds. The first officer didn't catch it, and then he went off to our 4 o'clock position.
American 1743, can you say that?
Yes, sir. That object that we're talking about, that was at our 3 o'clock. About a minute and a half ago, the captain saw it dive about 20,000 feet seconds, and then it was below us. That's what it appears now, and to our 4 o'clock position.
Now, unfortunately, we see that the ideology of Nazism in its modern form and manifestation again directly threatens the security of our country. Again and again, we have to repeal the aggression of the collective West.
This is a message from the City of Annapolis Office of Emergency Management and the Arundel County Office of Emergency Management. Naval District, Washington will be conducting a public safety drill tomorrow, Wednesday, February 15th, beginning at 9 a.m. at NSA Annapolis. During this time, you may see an increased number of law enforcement and emergency vehicles in the area. You may hear simulated ammunition being used. Additionally, you may also hear exercise announcements being made over the installation's loudspeakers. This is only a drill.
That China signed a law last December 30th, 2022, authorizing the mobilization of their entire country. This covers their entire country, men and women, and this law will come into effect on March the 1st in just a little bit over a month.
So this is a notification I just got on my phone. Hazmat release I-10 between Kolb and Rita. That's where our rail hub is in southern Arizona.
Jacksonville, Florida, February 2023. Everyone has this little post here regarding put our name and address there and put the water sample in there. Why is that? Because there's a rumor going around that 50 states have water contamination. Guys, I kid you not. This is my neighbors. Everyone has this. Everyone has this going all the way down that street.
The rise in earthquakes is palpable and measurable, and as such the USGS quickly began to tune them down, reducing the reported magnitude. This was observed over a decade ago by many who noted that the quake damage and scope was greater than the reported magnitude. Earthquakes would be removed from the quake database too, in front of the astonished eyes of observers. Nevertheless, the increase in frequency and strength was statistically measurable, and the charts show it.